Toxic people, draining, manipulative, and relentless. They sabotage your confidence, undermine your progress, and leave you questioning your worth. But let me tell you something. You don't have to let them control your life. Today, I'll show you 7 clever ways to deal with toxic people that will not only protect your peace, but also empower you to thrive in the face of their negativity. These strategies demand action, resilience, and boldness. Are you ready to take back your power? Let's begin. Secret number 1. Recognize the signs without denial. Have you ever felt an invisible weight pressing on your chest after spending time with someone? That subtle ache that drains your energy, steals your joy, and leaves you questioning your self-worth? It's not your imagination. It's the shadow of toxicity creeping into your life. And the most crucial step to freeing yourself from its grip is this. Recognize the signs without denial. Denial is comforting. It's the soft whisper that tells you to ignore the unease, to justify the actions of others, and to convince yourself that things aren't that bad. But denial is also dangerous. It allows toxic behavior to flourish unchecked, turning minor wounds into deep scars. You cannot afford to ignore this any longer. Your happiness, your growth, and your future depend on your willingness to see the truth. Let me share a story. A man named David was a successful entrepreneur. He was confident, ambitious, and deeply passionate about his work. But he had a business partner, Eric, who slowly became a toxic presence in his life. Eric's manipulative tactics were subtle at first. Minor criticisms cloaked as advice and occasional dismissal of David's ideas. But over time, Eric's behavior grew darker. He'd take credit for David's hard work, spread rumors to tarnish David's reputation, and constantly undermine his decisions in meetings. David wanted to believe the best in Eric. After all, they'd built their company together. Surely, Eric had good intentions. But deep down, David felt the sting of every slight, the growing frustration of being undervalued. He couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, and began doubting his abilities. One night, while staring at his computer screen in a dark office, a thought struck him like a lightning bolt. Why am I letting this happen? This isn't who I am. The realization hit hard. David had been excusing Eric's behavior for years, hoping things would improve, but they never did. That night, David made a decision to stop denying the toxicity and face it head-on. This moment of recognition is often accompanied by a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, betrayal, sadness, and even guilt. When you realize someone close to you has been harming you, it feels like the ground beneath you has shifted. You question everything. How did I not see this before? Why did I let it go on for so long? But let me tell you this, you are not to blame for their actions. Toxic individuals are skilled manipulators. They thrive on your empathy, your hope, and your unwillingness to confront uncomfortable truths. The guilt you feel is misplaced, the betrayal you feel is valid, and the anger you feel? Use it. Let it fuel your resolve to break free. So how do you know if someone is toxic? Start by examining how they make you feel. Do you feel drained after spending time with them? Toxic people sap your energy like leeches, leaving you emotionally and mentally exhausted. Do they make you doubt yourself? Subtle jabs, backhanded compliments, and gaslighting are their weapons of choice. Do they thrive on drama and negativity? Toxic individuals often stir conflict, thriving on the chaos they create. Do they dismiss your achievements or belittle your goals? Instead of celebrating your successes, they downplay or criticize them to keep you feeling small. These behaviors are not one-off incidents. They are patterns. And recognizing these patterns is the first step toward reclaiming your life. First, start paying attention. Keep a journal. Write down interactions that leave you feeling uneasy or hurt. Patterns become undeniable when they're laid out in front of you. Trust your gut. If someone consistently makes you feel bad, it's not a coincidence. Talk to a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist. An outside view can help you see what your emotions might cloud. Learn about toxic behaviors like gaslighting, passive aggressiveness, and manipulation. Knowledge is power. It strips away the control toxic people hold over you. Denial is not just avoidance. It's an accomplice to toxicity. Every day you spend rationalizing their behavior is a day you give away your power. Toxic people rely on your silence, your hesitation, and your unwillingness to see them for who they truly are. The longer you stay in denial, the deeper their roots grow, entangling you in a web of manipulation and self-doubt. Do not let this happen to you. You deserve better. You deserve relationships that uplift, encourage, and empower you, not ones that leave you questioning your worth. So I ask you, who in your life makes you feel less than you are? Who leaves you doubting yourself, questioning your value? Be honest with yourself. No more excuses. No more justifications. It's time to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Recognizing the signs without denial is not just the first step. It's the most powerful one. It's the moment you take back control of your life, your happiness, and your future. The journey to freedom and fulfillment begins here, with this single, courageous act of recognition. Don't wait. Don't delay. Your life depends on it. Secret number 2, set firm boundaries without guilt. Have you ever felt like you're constantly walking on eggshells around someone, afraid to say no because you fear their reaction? Do you feel the creeping resentment every time your kindness is exploited, your time is drained, and your peace is sacrificed? It's time to stop the cycle. Setting firm boundaries isn't just an act of self-respect, it's a survival skill. Without boundaries, toxic people will consume your energy, invade your space, and chip away at your sense of self. And here's the hard truth. If you don't set boundaries, no one else will do it for you. But let's get something straight. Setting boundaries isn't easy. It takes courage, clarity, and yes, a willingness to face discomfort. Toxic individuals won't like it when you stand up for yourself. They'll push back, manipulate, and even guilt trip you. But guess what? Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to protect your well-being. So let's dive into how you can set firm boundaries without guilt, and why it's one of the most powerful tools you'll ever wield. Imagine this. Sarah was the go-to person in her circle. Need help moving? Call Sarah. Need a last-minute babysitter? Sarah's got you. Feeling down and need to vent for hours? Sarah will listen, even if it's midnight. She prided herself on being dependable, but deep down she was exhausted. Her weekends disappeared into favors she didn't want to do. Her workdays were interrupted by endless personal requests. And every time she tried to say no, a wave of guilt would crash over her. One day, after an especially draining week, Sarah broke down. She sat on her bed, tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the weight of everyone else's needs. Her own needs? She didn't even know what those were anymore. At that moment, she realized something painful yet liberating. She was the one allowing this to happen. Yes, people were taking advantage of her generosity, but she was complicit by never saying enough. That night, she made a decision to stop letting guilt dictate her life. She would set boundaries, not timidly, not apologetically, but firmly and unapologetically. Let's talk about guilt because it's the chains that keep so many of us stuck. Toxic people thrive on your guilt. They weaponize it, using your empathy and kindness against you. And here's the thing about guilt. It feels like you're doing something wrong, but in reality, it's often a sign that you're doing something right. Guilt arises when you challenge long-held patterns of behavior, and that's okay. When you set boundaries, you may feel anxious, afraid, even selfish. But let me ask you this. Is it selfish to protect your peace? To honor your time? To prioritize your mental health? No, it's not selfish. It's necessary. The discomfort you feel is temporary, but the freedom and empowerment that come from setting boundaries are life-changing. How do you know it's time to set boundaries? Start by asking yourself, do I feel drained after interacting with this person? Do I feel like my needs are consistently ignored or dismissed? Do I feel guilty saying no, even when I know I should? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then it's time to act. Get clear on your limits. Before you can set boundaries, you need to know what they are. What behaviors are unacceptable to you? What lines cannot be crossed? Write them down. Clarity is your anchor. When you set a boundary, be firm, clear, and respectful. Avoid over-explaining or apologizing. For example, instead of saying, "I'm sorry, I don't think I can help with this, but I'll try if you really need me to," say, "I won't be able to help with this." Period. Toxic individuals will test your boundaries. They'll guilt you, argue, or try to make you feel bad. Do not waver. Repeat your boundary calmly and consistently. You are not responsible for how others feel about your boundaries. If someone gets angry or upset, that's their issue to resolve, not yours. Practice saying no. Start small. Say no to minor requests and build your confidence. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Without boundaries, you will lose yourself. Toxic people will drain your energy, dominate your time, and leave you feeling powerless. And it won't stop unless you make it stop. Your life is too valuable to be dictated by the whims of others. Every moment you spend catering to someone else's unreasonable demands is a moment stolen from your own growth, happiness, and peace. So I ask you, what boundaries do you need to set today? Who in your life has been crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed? Be honest with yourself. It's time to stop waiting for others to change and take decisive action. Remember, setting boundaries is not about being mean or unkind. It's about showing yourself the respect you deserve. It's about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your life. You owe it to yourself to stop living under the shadow of guilt and step into the light of self-respect. This is your moment to take control. Set those boundaries. Stand firm. And watch how your life transforms when you refuse to accept anything less than you deserve. Your peace is worth it. Your happiness is worth it. You are worth it. Secret number 3. Limit your exposure strategically. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the air grow heavier, as if an invisible cloud of negativity pressed down on you? Have you ever noticed how a single toxic person can drain your energy, poison your mood, and rob you of your focus? Toxic people have a way of infiltrating our lives, dominating our thoughts, and pulling us into their chaos. But here's the thing. They only have as much access to you as you allow them. You don't have to subject yourself to their negativity. You don't have to endure their drama. You don't have to sacrifice your peace for their turmoil. You have the power to limit your exposure. This isn't about running away or avoiding responsibility. It's about protecting your mental, emotional, and physical well-being so you can thrive. The stakes are high, and the time to act is now. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning feeling refreshed and optimistic about the day ahead. You're ready to tackle your goals, make progress, and enjoy life. But then you receive a call from that one person, the person who always complains, criticizes, or stirs up conflict. Within minutes, your mood shifts. That optimism, gone. The mental clarity you woke up with, replaced by frustration and anxiety. Now multiply this experience by weeks, months, or even years. Can you feel the toll it takes? The resentment bubbling under the surface? The exhaustion of constantly being pulled into someone else's negativity? This is not sustainable. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and toxic people will drain you until there's nothing left. That's why limiting your exposure is not just a preference, it's a necessity. Let's be brutally honest. Keeping toxic people in your life without boundaries will destroy your peace of mind, your productivity, and even your relationships with others. Their negativity is like a virus, spreading into every area of your life. Their chaos becomes your chaos. Their problems become your problems. And the longer you tolerate it, the harder it becomes to break free. Let me ask you this. How many dreams have you put on hold because of someone else's negativity? How much time have you wasted replaying toxic conversations in your head? How much energy have you lost trying to fix problems that aren't even yours to fix? If these questions hit home, it's time to take decisive action. Limiting your exposure to toxic people doesn't mean cutting everyone off or becoming a recluse. It means being intentional about who gets access to your energy and attention. It's about creating boundaries that protect your peace while still allowing you to function in a world that isn't perfect. Be honest with yourself. Who in your life consistently brings negativity, drains your energy, or undermines your progress? It could be a colleague, a friend, or even a family member. Naming the problem is the first step to solving it. Time is your most valuable asset. Stop giving it away to people who don't respect it. Limit unnecessary interactions. If someone thrives on drama, don't engage. If someone constantly complains, don't become their sounding board. When interaction is unavoidable, control the environment. Meet in neutral settings. Keep conversations focused and brief. Don't allow them to derail your peace or productivity. Toxic people love to invade your life through constant calls, texts, or social media messages. Set boundaries with technology. Mute notifications. Decline calls when you're not in the right headspace. Protect your digital boundaries as fiercely as your physical ones. The best antidote to toxic people is surrounding yourself with uplifting, supportive individuals. Seek out relationships that inspire, challenge, and energize you. Let me share a story that might resonate with my previous words. Mark was a hard-working professional with big ambitions, but his progress was constantly hindered by his closest friend, John. John was the type who thrived on drama, always complaining, stirring up conflict, and dragging Mark into his personal crises. Mark felt obligated to stay loyal. After all, they'd been friends for years, but every interaction left Mark drained. He began noticing how his work suffered, his mood darkened, and his relationships with others became strained. One evening, after another exhausting conversation, Mark sat down and asked himself, "Is this the life I want to live?" The answer was a resounding no. That night, he made a decision. He wouldn't cut John out of his life entirely, but he would set strict boundaries. Mark started limiting their interactions to once a month. When John called to complain, Mark redirected the conversation or ended the call if it became too negative. Slowly but surely, Mark reclaimed his energy, his focus, and his peace of mind. It wasn't easy. Guilt and doubt crept in. But every time they did, Mark reminded himself, "I am not responsible for John's happiness. I am responsible for my own." Let's not sugarcoat it. Limiting exposure to toxic people is emotionally challenging. You may feel guilt, fear, or even grief for the relationship you wish you had with them. But remember this: choosing your well-being is not selfish. It's self-preservation. You're not abandoning anyone. You're setting boundaries that allow you to thrive. And in doing so, you're not only protecting yourself, but also setting an example for others to follow. So I ask you, who in your life do you need to limit your exposure to? Be honest. Face the discomfort, and then take action. Your peace of mind is worth more than any toxic relationship. Your goals, your dreams, and your happiness deserve to be protected. Don't let guilt, fear, or obligation keep you trapped in someone else's negativity. This is your life. Take control of it. Set boundaries, limit your exposure, and watch how your energy, focus, and joy return when you stop giving toxic people access to the best parts of you. Secret number 4. Stay emotionally detached from their drama. Let's cut to the chase. Toxic people thrive on drama. It's their oxygen. They spin chaos like a web, pulling everyone around them into their turmoil. They want you angry, they want you upset, they want you involved. Why? Because your emotional reaction feeds their power. The more entangled you become, the more control they have over you. But here's the truth you need to hear. You don't have to participate in their drama. You don't have to let them manipulate your emotions. You can rise above it. This isn't easy. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and a rock-solid commitment to protecting your peace. But it's possible, and the rewards are life-changing. Have you ever felt your heart race after a heated argument with someone who seemed to love provoking you? Have you ever replayed their words over and over in your mind, feeling the sting of their manipulation? The anger, the hurt, the confusion. It can feel overwhelming. Toxic people are masters at pressing your buttons. They know how to twist words, distort truths, and ignite conflict. And when you react, whether it's defending yourself, arguing back, or trying to fix the situation, they've won. Why? Because they've pulled you into their storm. When you allow yourself to be emotionally consumed by their antics, you lose sight of your priorities. You waste precious energy on their chaos instead of focusing on your growth, your goals, and your peace. Let me ask you this. How many hours have you spent ruminating on their words or actions? How much of your emotional bandwidth has been hijacked by their drama? How often have you felt like you're walking on eggshells, afraid of setting them off? It's time to break free. Staying emotionally detached doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means reclaiming control over your reactions. It means refusing to let toxic people dictate your emotional state. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, "You will not disrupt my peace." Toxic people are predictable. They repeat the same behaviors because they work. They'll play the victim, pick fights, or guilt trip you into feeling responsible for their problems. Recognize these patterns for what they are: manipulative tactics designed to pull you in. What matters most to you? Peace, integrity, progress? Keep these values at the forefront of your mind. When toxic people try to provoke you, remind yourself of what's truly important. Don't let their chaos derail you from living in alignment with your values. Toxic people will poke and prod, trying to get a reaction. Don't give it to them. Stay calm, stay composed. Their drama loses its power when you refuse to engage. When you feel anger or frustration bubbling up, pause. Breathe. Respond. Don't react. You have the power to choose your emotional state, no matter how provocative the situation. Every minute you spend dwelling on their drama is a minute stolen from your happiness and productivity. Redirect your focus to something positive, productive, and fulfilling. Let's be real. Staying emotionally detached from toxic drama is hard. It's tempting to defend yourself, to prove your point, or to fix the unfixable. But every time you engage, you give them what they want: your energy, your focus, your power. Yes, you'll feel frustrated at times. You'll feel the sting of their manipulation. But remember this: your emotions are yours to control. No one else has the right to dictate how you feel. When you master emotional detachment, you reclaim your life. You stop living in reaction to others' chaos and start living on your own terms. You protect your energy, your focus, and your peace. And here's the best part: toxic people lose their hold over you. Their drama becomes background noise instead of a storm you're caught in. You become unshakable. So I ask you, so whose drama are you allowing to control your emotions? What would your life look like if you refused to engage? It's time to take decisive action. Recognize the patterns. Stay grounded in your values. Don't take the bait. Regulate your emotions. Redirect your focus. You are in control. Take back your power. Stay emotionally detached and watch as their chaos fades into irrelevance. Secret number 5. Surround yourself with positive influences. Let's get something clear. Your environment shapes your destiny. The people you surround yourself with are either lifting you higher or dragging you down. There's no middle ground. If you're serious about leveling up your life and breaking free from toxic dynamics, you must make an unflinching decision to surround yourself with positive influences. But here's the truth: many people shy away from. This choice is not easy. It requires courage, responsibility, and sometimes heart-wrenching honesty. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated to let go of someone toxic because of shared history, guilt, or fear of being alone? How often have you stayed in the company of negativity, hoping things would change, only to find yourself drained, discouraged, and stuck? Here's the wake-up call. If you want to grow, thrive, and achieve your potential, you cannot allow toxic influences to keep you chained. Toxic people have a way of weaving themselves into your life. They can be friends, colleagues, even family members. Their negativity, manipulation, or constant drama seeps into your thoughts and actions, holding you back in ways you don't always realize. Picture this. You're working hard to build a better life. You're focused, determined, making progress. But every time you share a win, a toxic person shoots it down with criticism or jealousy. Every time you try to express your dreams, they plant seeds of doubt or dismiss your ambitions. How does that feel? The weight of their negativity crushes your spirit. It's like trying to run a marathon with a ball and chain strapped to your ankle. Here's the question you need to answer honestly. How much longer are you willing to carry this burden? How much more of your energy, time, and emotional bandwidth will you allow to be stolen by toxic influences? Now imagine the opposite. Imagine being surrounded by people who lift you up instead of tearing you down. People who celebrate your victories, no matter how small. People who challenge you to be better, who inspire you with their own actions, and who remind you of your worth when you doubt yourself. Positive influences are more than just a nice to have. They're essential. They are the fuel that powers your growth, the safety net that catches you when you stumble, and the mirror that reflects your best self. But here's the catch. You don't stumble into a supportive environment. You build it, deliberately, relentlessly, without compromise. Let me share a story. It's not glamorous, but it's real, and it cuts to the heart of what it means to choose positive influences. There was a man named Daniel who had always dreamed of starting his own business. He had the skills, the vision, and the work ethic. But there was a problem. The people around him didn't believe in him. Every time he talked about his dreams, his closest friend would laugh and say, "You? A business owner? Stick to what you know." His family, though well-meaning, constantly reminded him of the risks and the likelihood of failure. Over time, Daniel began to internalize their doubts. He stopped talking about his dreams. He stopped taking action toward them. He started to believe the lie that he wasn't capable. One day, he attended a networking event and met a group of entrepreneurs. These were people who had faced similar challenges but refused to give up. They shared stories of failure, resilience, and triumph. For the first time, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. These people didn't laugh at his dreams. They encouraged him. They didn't warn him of failure. They taught him how to navigate it. Daniel made a decision that night. He would no longer let toxic influences dictate his life. It wasn't easy. He had to distance himself from old friends. He had to set boundaries with family members who couldn't support his vision. But as he surrounded himself with positive, like-minded individuals, everything changed. With their support, Daniel launched his business. It wasn't smooth sailing. There were setbacks and struggles, but he pushed through. And with each milestone, he realized the truth. The people you surround yourself with can make or break your journey. Removing toxic influences and seeking out positive ones can be emotionally challenging, but your well-being, your growth, and your dreams matter more than the discomfort of change. Remember, you are not abandoning others out of malice. You are choosing to protect your peace and prioritize your growth. That's not selfish, it's necessary. You may ask, how do I surround myself with positive influences? First, be brutally honest. Who drains your energy? Who makes you doubt yourself? Who consistently brings negativity into your life? Distance yourself with grace. This doesn't always mean cutting people off entirely, though sometimes it does. It means setting boundaries and limiting your exposure to their toxicity. Seek out like-minded individuals. Join communities that align with your values and goals. Attend events, join online groups, or connect with people who inspire you. Nurture the relationships that matter. Positive influences are like gardens. They need care and attention. Invest time and effort into building genuine, supportive relationships. Be the positive influence. Surrounding yourself with positivity starts with being a source of it. Lift others up, celebrate their wins, and lead by example. The stakes are high. So let me ask you, are you willing to let toxic influences hold you back any longer? What could your life look like if you surrounded yourself with positivity? Who do you need to step away from? And who do you need to seek out to create the life you deserve? The stakes are high. Your environment shapes your mindset, and your mindset shapes your life. If you're serious about breaking free from toxic dynamics and stepping into your potential, you must take this step. Surround yourself with positive influences. Choose growth. Choose peace. Secret number 6. Confront when necessary with confidence. Avoiding confrontation with toxic people is like putting a bandage on a wound that needs stitches. It might feel easier in the moment, but deep down, you know it's not solving the problem. It's prolonging your pain, allowing resentment to fester, and giving the toxic person more power over your life. Confrontation isn't just an option, it's a necessity. But let's be honest, confrontation is uncomfortable. It's messy. It's intimidating. You might worry about their reaction, fear losing the relationship, or doubt your ability to stand your ground. Yet, if you don't confront when necessary, you risk becoming a prisoner to their behavior, trapped in a cycle of frustration and helplessness. So let me ask you, how much longer are you willing to stay silent? How many more sleepless nights will you endure, replaying their words or actions in your mind? How much of your peace are you willing to sacrifice? Confrontation isn't about aggression or creating conflict for the sake of it. It's about standing up for yourself with clarity, respect, and unshakable confidence. It's about reclaiming your power and setting the record straight. Now, you might be thinking, but I'm not good at confrontation. I hate conflict. That's okay. Most people feel the same way. But here's the truth. You don't need to be a natural-born fighter to confront someone effectively. What you need is courage, preparation, and a deep belief that your boundaries and well-being matter. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Sophie. Sophie was the kind of person everyone relied on, at work, in her family, and among her friends. She was kind, empathetic, and always willing to help. But there was one person in her life who took advantage of her generosity: her boss. Her boss was a master manipulator, piling work on her desk at the last minute, criticizing her efforts publicly, and dismissing her concerns whenever she tried to speak up. Sophie dreaded going to work. She felt undervalued, exhausted, and trapped. For months, she avoided confrontation. She told herself, "It's just the way they are, and maybe I'm overreacting." But the stress began to take a toll on her health and happiness. One evening, after another humiliating encounter at work, Sophie sat alone in her car. She felt small, powerless, and ashamed. She realized that her silence was costing her too much. Her fear of confrontation was allowing her boss to continue their toxic behavior unchecked. If she didn't stand up for herself, who would? Sophie made a decision. She would confront her boss, not with anger, but with confidence and clarity. Confronting someone toxic is an emotional roller coaster. You'll feel fear. Fear of their reaction, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of what might happen next. You'll feel doubt. Am I being unreasonable? What if this backfires? And you'll feel anger, not just at them, but at yourself for letting things go on for so long. These emotions are valid, but they cannot be allowed to dictate your actions. The key is to channel these emotions into determination. When Sophie prepared for her confrontation, she felt all these emotions. She wrote down what she wanted to say, practiced in front of a mirror, and reminded herself why this was necessary. She walked into her boss's office with her heart pounding in her chest, but her resolve was stronger than her fear. If you want to confront, you should know what you want to say. Write it down if you need to. Focus on the facts, specific behaviors, how they've affected you, and what needs to change. Stay calm and respectful. Confrontation isn't about yelling or blaming. It's about asserting yourself calmly and firmly. Respect their humanity, but don't compromise your own. Be direct. Don't beat around the bush. Say what needs to be said clearly and concisely. For example, Sophie told her boss, "I've noticed that I'm often assigned extra tasks at the last minute, which impacts my ability to complete my other responsibilities effectively. I need us to agree on a more manageable workload and clearer timelines." Expect pushback. Toxic people rarely admit their behavior right away. They might deny, deflect, or get defensive. Don't let this derail you. Repeat your points calmly and stand your ground. End with clarity. Clearly state your expectations and boundaries moving forward. For Sophie, it was, "I'm happy to contribute to our team's success, but I need to be treated with respect and fairness. Let's work together to make that happen." When Sophie confronted her boss, she was met with defensiveness and excuses at first, but she stood her ground. Over time, her boss began to change their behavior. Not completely, but enough for Sophie to feel more respected and in control of her work environment. More importantly, Sophie felt a profound sense of empowerment. She had faced her fear, stood up for herself, and taken back her power. You might not always get the exact outcome you hope for when you confront someone. Some people won't change. But the act of confronting them, of refusing to be a passive participant in your own life, changes you. It strengthens your confidence, reinforces your boundaries, and reminds you of your worth. So, let me ask you, what is the cost of staying silent? How much longer will you let fear dictate your actions? What could your life look like if you chose to confront with confidence? The stakes are too high to avoid confrontation. Toxic people thrive on your silence. They count on you being too scared or unsure to speak up. But you're stronger than that. You have the right and the responsibility to stand up for yourself. Confront when necessary. Do it with confidence, clarity, and conviction. Reclaim your peace. Reclaim your power. We have more interesting videos about Stoicism and the way of life. If you want to watch a video about 7 Stoic secrets to level up your life faster than ever, please click link above in the video. If you like the video or you don't want to miss further videos about Stoicism, please subscribe. Secret number 7. Prioritize your mental health relentlessly. Your mental health is not negotiable. It's not an afterthought, a luxury, or something you deal with only when life becomes unbearable. It's the foundation of everything you are and everything you aspire to be. And yet, too many of us treat our mental health like a secondary concern, something to address after work, family, or endless obligations. But let me tell you this, if you don't prioritize your mental health relentlessly, no one else will. How many times have you felt the creeping weight of exhaustion, anxiety, or despair, only to shove it aside and tell yourself, "I'll deal with it later"? How often have you ignored the warning signs, those subtle but insistent whispers from within, because the world demanded your attention elsewhere? I know that feeling. I know the heaviness in your chest, the racing thoughts that keep you awake at night, and the moments when you question your own strength. But I also know this. If you don't fight for your mental health, it will slip through your fingers. Neglecting your mental health doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow erosion, a steady, almost imperceptible decline that creeps in while you're too busy to notice. You tell yourself, "I'm fine. It's just a rough patch. I'll get through it." And maybe you do. But each time you ignore your mental well-being, the damage compounds. You wake up one day and realize you're not the person you used to be. Your joy is dulled, your energy drained, your relationships strained, The things that once inspired you now feel like obligations. It's a quiet, devastating unraveling. So let me ask you, is that a risk you're willing to take? Are you willing to gamble your peace, your happiness, your very identity on the hope that things will fix themselves? I remember talking to a friend who seemed to have it all together. Let's call her Emma. She was the kind of person everyone admired, successful in her career, surrounded by friends, always there to lend a helping hand. But behind the facade, Emma was struggling. She told me about a day when everything came crashing down. She'd been ignoring her mental health for months, brushing off the anxiety and fatigue as mere side effects of a busy life. But that day, sitting in her car after work, she couldn't stop crying. She didn't even know why. It felt like I was drowning, she said. Like I was trapped in this invisible cage, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find the door. Emma's story is not unique. It's a reality that countless people face, often in silence. The feelings of overwhelm, isolation, and hopelessness aren't weaknesses. They're warning signs. They're your mind's way of begging you to take action. Prioritizing your mental health isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to navigate the storm, how to protect yourself against its relentless winds. Acknowledge the reality. The first step is to face the truth. You're not invincible. You have limits, and ignoring them doesn't make you strong. It makes you vulnerable. Ask yourself, am I truly okay, or am I just pretending to be? Build a fortress of self-care. Self-care is not a buzzword. It's a lifeline. And no, it's not just bubble baths and spa days. It's creating a routine that supports your mental well-being, regular sleep, nourishing food, movement, mindfulness practices. Seek support without shame. Too often, people hesitate to ask for help, fearing judgment or rejection. But here's the truth. Seeking support is an act of courage, not weakness. Whether it's a trusted friend, a therapist, or a support group, don't carry the burden alone. Cut out the noise. We live in a world that glorifies busyness and constant connectivity. But your mental health demands quiet. Create space for reflection, for stillness, for the simple act of being. Turn off the noise, social media, endless notifications, the pressure to always be on. Commit to growth. Your mental health is not static. It requires ongoing care, reflection, and growth. Ask yourself, what do I need to thrive, not just survive? And then pursue it with unwavering determination. Prioritizing your mental health can feel like a battle, especially when you've spent years putting yourself last. You'll face guilt. Guilt for saying no, for putting yourself first, for needing time and space. You'll face doubt. Am I overreacting? Do I deserve this? And yet, amidst the struggle, there's a profound liberation. When you start to honor your mental health, you begin to see yourself more clearly. You remember who you are beneath the layers of stress and obligation. You reclaim your strength, your joy, your essence. So let me ask you, what's stopping you from prioritizing your mental health today? How much longer will you ignore the warning signs? What will it take for you to finally put yourself first? Your mental health is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Your relationships, your ambitions, your very capacity to live and love fully. Emma eventually sought help. She started therapy, restructured her routine, and began saying no to the things that drained her. It wasn't easy, it never is, but she told me something that stuck with me. I finally feel like myself again. That's what's at stake here. Not just your well-being, but your very sense of self. Prioritizing your mental health isn't selfish. It's essential. It's a declaration that you matter, that your peace and happiness are worth fighting for. So fight for it, relentlessly, unapologetically, and without hesitation. Your mental health is your greatest asset. Guard it with everything you have. Till the next time, stay strong and live wisely.